Are you looking to take your personal finances to the next level? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not, with your host, Joseph Sangl.
Well, welcome to episode number 30 of the Monday Money Tip Podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Megan Hibbard. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Are you fired up?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Always.
And this is awesome. This is the first ever type of episode that we're going to do this. It's something we committed to do this year. Tell everybody why it's different.
All right. So this episode is different because we're going to be answering top money questions that we've received from this month. So topics can include anything, really. So some of the topics we're going to talk about this episode: loans, credit scores, interest rates. We're going to be answering them, hopefully.
Yeah.
The goal is rapid fire, so we can get through as many as possible. So, student loan, paydays,
We have
credit
a whole
score,
list of questions
all of
for
them,
you all, and really, they're for you all because they came from everyone.
That's right.
And so we're so thankful for everybody who's emailed in the questions at info@iwbnin.com. We want to be able to serve you and help you in your money journey. And we know that your financial education is directly proportional to your ability to advance forward. And so we want to make sure you do not get stuck because of a lack of knowledge in some area of finances. And so that's why we've decided in this year, at the last episode of every month, to talk about your top money questions. And so we're going to talk about all those. But before we do that, we got our very special section of every podcast. And you know what time it is. What is it?
Current events.
The current money events. Let's go.
Now it's time to get caught up with our current money events.
That's right. It's the current money events section. It's awesome. And
I need to not
Megan
pause
hates it
so
so
that
bad.
You don't have time to sing.
I like the jingle. It's awesome. But we have a sponsor.
Yes.
Talk to us.
This portion of the podcast is sponsored by the I Was Broke, Now I'm Not free tools page. On this page, you can find tons of helpful tools to help you progress in your financial journey. Simply visit the tools section at iwbnin.com and take your money to the next level.
Today. Do it. Visit that budgeting link, all those free tools, and we'll have a link to it in the show notes as well. All those tools are free. We're excited to be able to provide those to you to help you in your money journey. And today, in this current events section that is sponsored by our free tools page, and we're grateful for their sponsorship, it's awesome, is I want to talk about something that is perpetually current, and that is vision. And no, I am not talking about your eyesight. I recently went to the eye doctor.
You did.
I felt like I needed to take a small business loan.
Yes.
And I came out and they told me that
Yes.
I might need
Not
bifocals, progressive lenses. And I refused them. I told them, get behind me, Satan.
Regret it.
I've already regretted it. And if you're watching the podcast now on YouTube, it's available visually. You'll see that I'm holding the page far away from my eyes. I'm officially getting old. You know, I'm going to be 45 soon. That's really old. It's awesome. Halfway to my goal of 90.
Oh, gosh.
In which I want to be standing on the Great Wall of China when I'm 90. It's one of my goals. If God allows me to live to 90, it'd be awesome. But I want to talk about vision. I'm talking about vision for your future, the vision for your life, not your eyeglass vision, although that's very important.
It is.
But I want you to be able to see it clearly. And so I want to ask you the question as you're driving to work today on the podcast, you're listening to this drive time podcast, or maybe you're sitting at home and you're kind of listening to this podcast in the background. I would love for you to stop and just think about this question. What is your vision for your future? Like, what do you want it to look like? And that is such a powerful question if you'll actually give it attention. And as you ask that question, there should be a subsequent question. Megan, read that subsequent question to them.
Yes. What is your vision for your future?
Yes.
And what is your vision for your financial future?
That's it. That is the additional question. What is your vision for your financial future? Now, I know a lot of people say, I want to be a millionaire. We have a song, I want to be a billionaire. You know, singing is my next career. It'd be awesome. I'll have a very skinny family. I won't have to worry about any weight gain at all because I am not talented in that area. My kids have told me that I should sing solos. Solo, they do not hear me. That's a terrible joke, isn't
That's
it?
funny.
And told me to sing that. They said, do you know that song, Van Down by the River? They're Down by the River. And they said, yeah, go sing Down by the River where we can't hear you. But here's the deal. What is your vision for your future, and what is your vision for your financial future? You see, many people, they claim that they have a vision for their future, and they say that they believe that their dreams will be able to be funded. However, Megan, and you've seen this, we see this in our office all the time through emails, through our live events, that their financial decisions actually say something else entirely about their beliefs.
Right.
Man, that's why I'm sharing this during the current money events portion of the show, because I want you to hear this clearly. Out of this episode today, this is what I want you to get. The financial decisions you make today, they will have a profound effect on your financial future. There was a day, December 2nd, 2002, where I said, I have had enough with my financial mess. That day changed my life. My finances didn't change that day. My bank account was still broke, $4.13 on average. Still holding checks until they would clear so they wouldn't bounce. Still had car debt, truck debt, student loan debt, credit card debt. But because I got a vision of what life could be like without debt, I can point to that day and said I had a life-altering financial moment. I got a vision. And that has propelled me for the next many years. Now we're sitting here 17 years later almost. That is vision for your financial future. I got a vision that I might have problems all my life. Not might. I will. You will. I will. All of our lists, all God's children got problems. So we're weird. Some of us have more profound challenges than others. But in this life, you will have troubles. We know this. But I determined that if I'm living in the wealthiest country on the planet, a financial challenge ought not be one of them. Being broke ought not be one of them. And that perhaps one of the reasons that I am blessed is so that I can be a blessing to many others, that I could have the gift of giving. But I can't exercise that gift if I don't have anything to give. And I resolved in that December 2nd, 2002 moment to get a vision for my life and a vision for the finances to support it. And it completely transformed my life. There was a day where I chose to max out my 401k. That 401k decision has allowed me to be able to see lots of zeros show up in the bank account. And I'm not talking about to the right of the decimal point. I'm talking about to the left with some commas, plural. Get fired up. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the day I chose to start contributing to my daughter's 529 college savings plan. I'm grateful for the day that I chose not to have a car payment anymore. Those were decisions because of a vision. They were propelled and powered by a vision. And so I encourage you today to make one good financial decision that will propel you toward your plans, hopes, and dreams. Listen, today, you could bump up your 401k or 403b or similar type retirement plan by 1%. You could bump it up today by 1%. You could increase your savings by $50 a month. You could choose to prepare your monthly budget for February. I mean, it's January 28th if you're listening on the day of the release of this podcast. You can call the cable TV company and ask for a better deal like I just did and save $60 a month. Or better yet, you can turn it off completely and save all of it. You'll be so glad you did, and so will your net worth, and so will your plans, hopes, and dreams. Get a vision for your life and make sure you have a financial vision to support it. You can do this. We believe in you. We want to help. That's why we offer this podcast.
Awesome. All right, well, our success story today comes from Debbie. And Debbie says, I've been working hard on the budget. My biggest win was seeing where my money goes. Now that I see where it goes, I see why I've had many months where there were more bills than income. Along with that, I used the weekly budget tool, modified it for every other week pay, and built a workbook for the entire year of 2019. I've been heavily relying on an overdraft to make it from one paycheck to the next. Sometimes having almost half of my paycheck committed to pay back overdrafts before I even got paid.
Woo!
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
That is crazy. Doing the budget sheets, I'm able to see exactly how much I have to spend and how much I need for bills, so no more overdraft. I got insurance quotes, and we are switching our homeowners and auto.
Yes.
We will be saving almost $1,000 a year. Get fired up. She even trademarked it.
I love it. I love it.
I've got 3 savings accounts set up with Marcus, one for emergency, one for Christmas savings, a goal to have fully funded for Christmas 2019, and one for known upcoming expenses like auto insurance.
I'm telling you right now, Debbie, you've killed it. You've changed your life, and you don't even know how much right now. I mean, you feel the feelings of it right now, Debbie, but I'm telling you, you're going to be able to experience it in the financial accounts and in the decisions you get to make in the future because you've chosen to do this. Way to go. That is incredible. Thanks for sharing that with us. That fires me up. Does that fire you up?
That's awesome.
Man, that's amazing on a Monday.
She's going to have to let us know how her Christmas savings. She said her goal is to have it fully funded for Christmas 2019.
I love it.
So, Debbie, you have to let us know when Christmas comes around if that is fully funded.
That's so awesome.
Yep.
And so we're now, we've done the current money events section, and we talked about a success story, and now we've come to the moment where we're going to do what we've never done before, and that is answer questions, hopefully somewhat rapid fire.
Yep.
And you're just going to hammer me with questions, apparently.
Yes. All right.
And we're going to go.
Here we go. The first one is, how do student loans work?
How do student loans work? Well, the way that it works is you can get money lent to you to attend a college or trade school, and they will loan you money. And that money, in general, is not required to be repaid until the day you drop below half-time status, which is defined as 6 credit hours, less than 6 credit hours. So if you're 6 credit hours or more in a semester, you're considered at least half-time status. You don't have to start repayment. And then there's a second thing that you have to understand about student loans is that some of them are subsidized and some of them are unsubsidized. This is an important word because if it's subsidized, it means that the government will pick up the interest or no interest will accrue while you are in school, at least half-time status. Only after you enter into the repayment period in which you drop below half-time status and that 6 months delay do you become responsible for the interest. That's hugely powerful because if they are unsubsidized, they will accrue interest all throughout your college years. So it's super important to understand. And the way they work is you end up with student loan debt and you have to repay it. You cannot bankrupt on it. So you cannot bankrupt on student loan debt. You cannot bankrupt on taxes. You can bankrupt a house, car, credit card debt. You cannot bankrupt on student loans. Hear me. You will have to repay the money. So guidance that I would give every single person who's in college or people who have kids going into college, or even if you have grandkids going to college, is this. Make sure that you ask that child what type of job they want to work when they graduate. And make sure they do the research on something like salary.com to find out how much they can reasonably expect to earn when they graduate. And then make sure that they graduate with less than 1 year's worth of that income in student loan debt, ideally half of a year's income in that debt. So if they look at it and say, I want to be a teacher, first year teacher is going to make $35,000, no more than $35,000 of debt. Ideally around $17,500 of debt. That allows them to accommodate those payments and be able to pay it off in 10 years or less. That's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Now, I do want to say one other thing with that. There are too many people who go to college and they are just chasing some dream or something they love, and they get a degree in the equivalent of underwater basket weaving. And there are no jobs for whatever the degree they got. And it's profoundly saddening and disheartening in these conversations that I have in my office for people who had never had an intention to work all their lifetime. They wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. That's what they wanted to do. There are many people that's their dream. And they went and got $100,000 of student loan debt. They can't do their dream because the debt robbed them of it. Or we have somebody who wants to go into student ministry. They go to a private Christian school. They leave with $80,000 of student loan debt. Newsflash, student pastors don't make much money.
That's right.
And most of them do not. Very few rare exceptions do. Most do not. And they do anything as the pastor deems necessary. And they end up leaving the thing they're passionate about to go get a job so they can repay the loan. Then they make special someone. They get married. And then they have kids. And 20 years passes and they never got to live their calling. So avoid debt. Listen, work through college. I worked while I was in college. I didn't want to. But it gave me this thing called money. Every summer I worked. So make sure you reduce how much student loans you get. That's how they work. You have to repay them. Cannot bankrupt on them.
Yep. And we also just a little caveat. We don't recommend bankruptcy.
We don't recommend bankruptcy. We hate bankruptcy. And it's unnecessary in almost every case. Yes. And I would say one other footnote. we will have an upcoming episode that focuses exclusively on student loans. So
Yep.
be on the lookout for that.
All right, next question. You see these all the time. So how do payday loans work?
How do payday loans work?
Yep.
They take your right arm, left arm, a leg. They charge you 2 arms and 1 leg and your firstborn. And you can never, it's just a disaster. It should be illegal. It's horrible. It's terrible. TRBL, Charles Barkley, terrible. But here's how they work. You borrow money from them, usually a small amount, small relatively speaking, $300, $500, $1,000, and they charge an exorbitant amount of interest. I routinely have seen 700% annual interest and higher. 700%.
I can't even fathom that.
And there is usually a refinance fee every 2 weeks that you don't repay it. So I remember one particular instance. This person had a $300 loan at 742.18% interest. Watch this. It cost them $90 every 2 weeks to refi it. They had paid $1,200 for a $300 loan that still was $300. They still owed the $300 plus the $90 and were paying that level of interest. And I sat there and I said, you cannot win. And it ought to be illegal. It is absolutely terrible. It's a horrible product. And man, I would support any legislation that eliminates that type of lending. It is a disaster, and I don't care. They've tried to hire PR firms to make them look better and how they help people. They are only in broke sections of town, and no one has said that a payday loan has helped me not get broke.
Yeah.
No one. There's a reason why they're not in wealthier sections of town. No one would ever use them unless they were absolutely desperate and hopeless. Don't do a payday loan.
All right, next question. What percentage of my income should I spend on housing?
What percent of my income should I spend on housing? Okay, well, these are different percentages, and it is dependent, Megan, on how much debt people have. So the ideal, or the certified financial planners would say 25% of your take-home pay is the maximum you should allocate to the payment. Okay, that includes principal and interest, but doesn't necessarily include your taxes and insurance. So 25% to the payment, but it includes the principal and interest. And this number can go up with the less amount of debt that you have. So if you have no other debt except for the house, then a family can probably reasonably accommodate a payment of 33% of their take-home pay. If you have extraordinary high debt, 2-car payments, credit card payments, student loan payments, it's more like 18 to 20% is what you'll be able to accommodate without that house just completely decimating your ability to do anything else financially. And so I encourage you to look at that. We have a mortgage payment calculator on our website, and that can be something that can really help you calculate what a payment is for various amounts of money that you're financing and purchase prices on a house. I would add one other thing. The average person should put at least 5% down on a house as a down payment. It allows you to qualify for a conventional mortgage, and it is different than a VA loan or a FHA loan. Those can require 2% or 3% down or no money down in some instances, like a USDA loan. But the issue with those is real estate agent fees are generally 6% of the sales price. So if you put no money down and you 100% finance a house, you're automatically 6% in the hole if you go to sell it. And so that's a big thing to think about.
All right. How much house can I afford?
How much house can you afford? Well, that goes with the mortgage payment. So that's dictated a lot by interest rates. But generally, it's 2 to 3 times your annual income. So if your household income is $80,000, about the median household income across America is about $75,000, then that'd be somewhere $150,000 to $225,000 is something that could be handled and accommodated by the household. Again, make sure that payment doesn't exceed 25% of your take-home pay. A little more if you have no debt other than the house. A little less if you have more debt.
All right. And then what is a credit score?
Okay, what is a credit score? We're all over the map here, aren't we?
We are.
It's awesome. A credit score is maybe better termed a debt management score. So it basically measures or scores your ability to handle lending. There is no bearing on that credit score by how much money you have saved. There's no number included for your income. There's nothing in there for how much you have in your investment accounts. It is exclusively based upon your ability to manage debt. So the things that are figured into your Fair Isaac score, the FICO score, or the Beacon score, the different scores that are out there, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, they all have their different numbers. And of course, you have Credit Karma, Credit Sesame. They all come up with a number. Most credit cards now give you a link to one of the credit scores. It's calculated based upon the types of debt. So is it installment debt, which is where you're paying something off, like a car or a home? Those are installment. There's a moment in which it goes away. Or revolving debt. That's a credit card where you can keep going and getting the debt again. And then it's how much is your total credit limits? So they add up how much debt you could go get. And then they say, what is the credit utilization? So how much of that debt is actually, that credit limit is utilized. And then they look at payment frequency. Do you pay on time every time? And then they also, so that payment timeliness is a big deal. And they also look at a couple of other things. Like, do you have any outstanding judgments against you? And do you have any credit that are reporting as late? Or is there some sort of short payment where you actually entered into an agreement to pay something short of the full amount owed? So it's called a settlement. And that can affect your credit score down as well. And then the other thing that figures into it is length of the credit relationship. So how long you've had that credit card, how long you've had that loan and paid on time. Those things, the longer that relationship, the better. But again, it's a debt management score, has no bearing based on your bank account or what you have in your investment account.
Perfect. All right. So now we're going to transition. We haven't done this the last couple episodes, so I want to do it because they're fun. But to a few hot seat questions.
Okay.
So the first one is...
Hey, before we go there, I do want to say that was fun.
Yeah.
And answering those questions, I hope it was helpful. And some of these we will have more focused episodes on. This gives us great ideas on how to serve you better. So please send us your questions at info@iwbnin.com. And at the end of February, we'll be doing this again.
Yep. All right. So the first one is, what is your favorite thing about your hometown?
Favorite thing about my hometown. So my new hometown.
I guess you could pick either.
Yeah. So my new hometown that I've been here for 20 years, almost all of the 20 years in Anderson, South Carolina. What I love about it is I get all 4 seasons. I still get snow. We've already had snow once in this winter. And it's like slush almost. But we get that like once or twice a year, and then it's 55 in the afternoon, which is kind of neat. But we get all 4 seasons, so we see the leaves and all that stuff, but I still feel winter and love summer. Another thing that I love is the access to the beach. It's only about 3.5 hours away to Charleston, but I'm only an hour away from the mountains, the Appalachian Mountains, and kind of up into North Carolina and on into Gatlinburg, which is awesome. So I just love it. It's right along I-85, and we're situated exactly 2 hours from Charlotte and 2 hours from Atlanta. Both are fantastic cities to visit.
Yep. All right. What is something you've always wanted to try?
Something I've always wanted to try. I want to be a pilot. If anybody's followed my Instagram or Facebook feed, you know for a fact I love jets. And so I want to start with a twin engine. So if one engine fails, like I want it, and I want one with spinners instead of jet turbines, so it goes slower. And I want to have a pilot who's in wonderful health, no heart issues, who's next to me, because I'm a risk taker as well, and I'm fearful that I might just try to fly through a large tornado and crash. So I've kind of put it off until the last kid is out of the house at least.
You need to be my father-in-law. He's a pilot.
Yep, that's right. Did he do that while he still had kids in the house? Yes. So I should probably do it too.
Yeah,
that's great.
He's done it for a long time. Yep. All right. So tell us about your worst job.
My worst job? Man, I'll tell you, the worst job, the stankiest job, was I worked in a confinement hog building, cleaning confinement hog buildings. And, man, it was the worst, rankest, nastiest job ever. But you would not believe the rate of pay I got. $3.35 an hour.
Oh, gosh.
I got minimum wage, and that was what minimum wage was back then. And, man, we did a lot of work with thousands of little piglets, and it was awesome. and horrific smelling. And my mother wouldn't even let me in the house with any clothes on, and made me and my twin brother actually shower ourselves with the cold water garden hose before we came in the house. It was horrible. There was actually moments the farmer would take us inside a restaurant to buy lunch, and that place would suddenly get very scarce. We got served very fast, and I die laughing every time I think about it. It's like I went in with the pig farmer to Hardee's and got immediate service. It was unbelievable. I'm embarrassed talking about it. It was a bad job.
I think
I should have been on Mike Rowe's Dirty Jobs for real.
Yeah. One of my favorites is my husband worked in high school. He worked at an ice skating rink, but they made him sell snow cones at an ice skating rink. Yeah. Who's buying snow cones?
Nobody's buying.
Nobody.
You got to sell hot chocolate.
Everyone's in line for the hot chocolate or the warm things, and he had to sell snow cones. It's terrible.
Let's ask you the question. What is your worst job? Oh, she's in the hot seat now.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like there should probably be one. I've had a lot of like random jobs. So I worked like at 2 different law firms. I worked at an insurance agency. I worked for a PR firm. Worked for Chick-fil-A for a while. Worked for Jaws of Life. So I've had like a lot of like very interesting jobs that I've liked.
So am I hearing you say I was broke, now I'm not, is the unnamed one here? I think there's a common element.
Well, I'm here now, so it's not a previous job.
But probably, it doesn't say previous job. It says your worst job.
But probably the worst might have been the law firm because it was so stressful.
Yeah.
It was like high stress all the time. And you had to like be very, like no mistakes could be made.
Yeah, that reminds me of a good attorney joke that one of my fellow attorneys told me. My friends, and so I'm not an attorney, but one of my fellow team members at Enjoy, he said, what do you call when a bus load of attorneys goes off a cliff? A good start.
Oh, gosh.
We'll finish on that. Hey, listen, if you like today's episode, please help us get this podcast to other people who could benefit. And you can do it quickly by rating our podcast and leaving a review. These ratings and reviews will help us in making this podcast better for you, our treasured listeners. And this year, we're starting something new, as we just did today. We have the top money questions, and we want to hear your questions. Ask them at info@iwbnin.com, and you could be featured on an upcoming podcast. Tell everybody about the upcoming one, the next one they'll get next Monday.
Yep. So our next podcast is going to be on maximizing your tax refund. So it's almost that time.
Oh, that's some right now relevant stuff.
So make sure you tune in for that one.
So before you file, and I know many of you want to file in the next 3 or 4 days when January 31st hits and you got all your W-2s and all that stuff. You might want to wait till next Monday. Listen to that episode. It'll be right now relevant information that help you maximize that tax refund, put that money to work so that you can have a fantastic 2019.
Perfect.
Get fired up.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Monday Money Tip Podcast, presented by I Was Broke, Now I'm Not. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit iwbnin.com. We'll catch you next time.